I am now in my third year as a Lormanian, and so far, my experience here at LORMA colleges has been both exciting and rewarding. Learning has never been this easy and enriching because the instructors I have made learning worth my while and diverse that I get to learn in many different ways. I have grown with the help of this value-driven institution by exposing me to several competitions that I have aced, and the deans and instructors molded me to become empowered with the knowledge and skills that honed me to be a better version of myself. I am Leia May Taiza, third year BS Tourism Management, proud Lormanian.
Going into my first psychology class didn't just feel like a warm welcome. It felt like seeing an old friend. I was surrounded by professors and colleagues who saw our department as a support system where we can encourage each other to become the better versions of ourselves every day. In our psychology department, we are always reminded that it's we will get through this and not just I will get through this. Here at the Department of Psychology, we are a family, a second home, and a reminder that every student belongs somewhere, even after graduation, and that place is here. I've been a Lormanian since grade school, high school, and now college, and it still always feels like home. I'm Melinda Frankie, AB Psychology, proud Lormanian.
Hello and good afternoon to all our viewers, and greetings of peace and love to all Romanians who are watching us all over the world. And today or this afternoon, welcome to our very first episode of the Lormanian Network. Of course, through or we are live in our Lorma YouTube channel or the LORMA Channel, produced by LORMA Colleges, your pathway to a brighter future. Good afternoon, I am Sir Paulo and I will be your host for this afternoon. I'm from the College of Business, Bachelor of Science in Hospitality Management. As I have said, welcome to our Lormanian Network, wherein we will be interviewing a lot of excellent, competent, and inspiring alumni scattered all over the world. And this afternoon, we are very privileged and lucky to be with one of our graduates of the College of Education and Sciences. She is a graduate of Bachelor in Secondary Education, major in English, in the year 2014 and graduated as cum laude. She finished her Masters of Arts in Teaching, major in English, at the University of the Northern Philippines, the year 2018. And now, amazing, currently finishing her PhD in Literature at the Philippine Normal University, Manila. Currently, she is a full-time instructor at the Department of Languages and Humanities at University of the Northern Philippines. So everyone, join me in welcoming and give your virtual clap to Miss, our very own Miss Jenniellou Pigao.
Hi, hello
Hello,
LORMA
Good
community,
afternoon, Miss
hello Sir
Jenniellou.
Pao, good
Yes, hello,
afternoon
good
everyone.
afternoon. How are you, Miss Jennielou?
Well, I'm fine, Sir
Yes,
Pao. Yes, it's a
and
very challenging time, but I'm, trying to be
yes,
okay, just like
yes.
everybody else.
Before we go further with our interview this afternoon, I would like you to know that we are welcome home. We would like to welcome you home, welcome back home at Lorma Colleges. Although we are limited because of the pandemic, we are limited with
Mm-mm,
the online platform, but still,
mm-mm,
there's no other place like home, like
mm-mm.
Lorma Colleges. Yes, and
Yes.
speaking of pandemic, ma'am, I would like to ask you, how are you coping with the pandemic, most especially that you are also with the academy.
Yes, sir. First, I'd like to thank you for asking me how I am because
Yes,
sometimes, diba, we actually forget to ask other people regarding how they are, especially in this very challenging time. I'm
correct.
okay, though this time really it's very challenging compared to what we have before. Like for us, in our case as teachers, I can say that online classes are more daunting now than what we had before during
Yes, I
face-to-face
understand
classes.
that.
So
Yes,
yes, aside from online classes, we had to attend a lot of extracurricular activities like e-trainings, virtual
yes,
accreditations,
yes,
among others. So it's extra challenging, really. But then, as teachers, we have to be flexible. So we have to be okay for our students. Fight the
yes.
good fight.
And
Mm-mm.
most especially, you are enrolled in your PhD, ma'am. That's
Yes,
another
yes,
level
sir.
of undertaking or endeavor for this matter. But as a member of the Lormanian community, we hope that you are well
Mm-mm.
and always staying safe, no, wherever you are. You are currently at vegan right now, right, ma'am?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Mm-mm.
And speaking of your job in the academy, can you tell us more of your activities,
Mm-mm.
no, your functions
Mm-mm.
in the academy, and specific details on how are you coping with the effects of the pandemic?
Mm-mm. Yes, sir. Thank you, Sir Pao, for that. So I've been teaching in the University of Northern Philippines in Vegan for 6 years already, going
Oh,
7.
wow. Yes.
And I handle some of the language and literature subjects at the Department of Languages and Humanities and at the same time at the College of Teacher Education. So aside from being a teacher, I also work for the university's Public Information Office as the print media coordinator under the Office of the President. And I am also the technical advisor of the Rabbi, the official student publication of the College of Teacher
Oh,
Education.
wow.
Yet it's really hard to balance the teaching at the same time, your extracurricular works as a teacher, but we have to fight the good fight, just like what I told you a while back, sir.
Yes, yes. And then just a follow-up question on that, ma'am. How are you doing it at the same time? Do you have any strategies or um, activities that you do in order for you not to really do a lot of things on your other functions and neglect the others? How do you manage your time with those a lot of slashes on your functions as a teacher?
Yes, sir. At first, really, I am also just like everybody else. I also do a lot of rants, but then at the end of the day, I always make sure, despite all the works that I am doing, that we are doing in school, I always find time to meditate, to have time for myself. And I always emphasize that to my students also, that even if they are bombarded with academic works, they have to always find time for things that they are passionate about. Like in my case, I always find time, even if I sometimes go home at 7 p.m. because of admin works, I have to like have time for my passions, like watching K-drama or reading books, among other things, just for me to de-stress. And
Yes.
actually, it really helps.
Yes, and I like what you said, that the gist of your message, ma'am, that despite of everything that is happening around us, all the expectations, stress, etc., we really need to find time for ourselves.
Mm,
Yes, because, well, it really helps in our mental health. Speaking, we are
mm,
celebrating mental health last month. So
Yes, yes,
yes,
right.
it's very important to have that. And another question, ma'am. I'm curious to know, no, in order for us to share to all our listeners out there all over the world, especially to our Lormanian students now who are currently enrolled and I think they are a little bit struggling
Mm-mm,
with the situation now. I'd like you to share to us what are those important lessons that
mm-mm,
you've learned that Lorma colleges had shared to you in order for you to reach your
mm-mm,
where you are now and be the person you are now.
mm-mm. There's a lot actually, Sir Pao, but I guess I want to emphasize that Lorma really taught me the importance of being a good person in general. Not just in the field that we are in, but in everywhere we go. More than the knowledge we gain from our teachers, we learn that it is not enough to know theories and concepts, but more on how will we apply the knowledge and skills. Everything that we learned and developed when we were in school. Like, for example, how can we be of service to others? How can we maximize our potentials for a bigger purpose? How can we make a legacy for the next generations to come? Christian values are definitely highlighted in Lorma, and we were taught of the importance of humility, kindness, and confidence that is not rooted in what we can do, but what the Supreme Being has bestowed to us. And that is why, wherever we go and wherever we are right now, we recognize that in everything we do it all for God's glory and not for ourselves. Because of all these things, Sir Pao, I am forever thankful to Lorma for teaching and instilling in us the concept of giving more importance in developing our character. It is really helpful, especially in developing this kind of mindset that we have to be grounded. We need not to be shaken by any or what this world is offering to us, especially with the expectations or pressures brought by our societies or other people's definition of success. And I guess that's it, sir. For every season of my life since I graduated, I always remember the teachings from my Lorma mentors, not just the academic part, but more on the moral fiber that I got from them. And now, as a teacher, I am also trying to extend the same kind of grace or the atmosphere that I learn in Lorma to my students.
Yes, I like it the way you emphasize, Ma'am Jennielou, the anchor of being a Lormanian is not only being excellent in one area,
Mm,
because that is the very essence of a Lormanian, right, Ma'am Jennielou, is
mm,
for you to be holistically developed and be prepared to cover
yes,
whatever out there. And it is good
yes.
also, ma'am, that you are trying to share what you've
Mm,
learned to your students. Imagine the impact of that one to our society, right?
mm,
Because aside from individual development, I believe as a Lormanian, we have that distinct um, responsibility for nation building. So
mm,
I hope that, well, I'm certain that all the Lormanians out there are doing the same, doing a little bit something uh, for the common good of everyone.
mm,
And so, you've spoken a lot of things during your experience here at Lorma Colleges, or during your stay. You
mm.
graduated last 2014, and I'm curious to know also because let's be a little bit nostalgic now. I'd like to ask you, what are the things that you miss most of Lorma colleges?
Well, aside from the very fast internet connection,
Yes,
what I miss
absolutely
about Lorma
correct.
is, yes, Sir Pao. What I miss about Lorma is the feeling of being home. It's like an extension of our home. I don't know if it's just me, but even if I came from a different province, when I first came to Lorma to study, it was easy for me to adjust. So thanks to the congenial atmosphere I received from my mentors in Lorma and even from the Lorma staff. So I remember that they always remind us to wear our Lorma smile wherever we go.
Yes,
So it serves
exactly.
as a branding for us, Lormanians
Yes,
really.
yes.
So at first it was really hard for me because I don't really smile a lot, but then eventually I got the hang of it. So I love how people in Lorma were very approachable and at the same time willing to be of service to others all the time. So basically, the bottom line there is the concept of home. The concept of home there is not just tied in the context of space, but I found the real definition of home from people in Lorma. So I guess that's it, Sir Pao. The homey feels or congenial feels from the Lorma faculty and staff is what I miss the most. I'm reminded of this particular values, especially during this trying times wherein there's a need to foster kindness all the
Yes,
time.
yes. We need to really have that support system. No, and Lorma colleges have really had really provided that one to all our students and graduates also. Yes. And speaking of your instructors, ma'am, I'd like to know if you can still. I hope that you can still remember all your instructors before, and I believe they really played an essential part on your training. However, would you like to share to us who are those really you can remember who really played a very distinct and special role in your decision making, most especially when you are still a student, that really affected on where and who you are now?
Actually, they have taught me a lot.
Yes.
But then I remember our advisor before, Ma'am Reyes, sir, who always highlighted the importance of humility. At the same time, our former language and literature teachers, which include Dr. Vicente, our dean at SES now,
Yes,
who
yes.
managed to unleash our potentials. And of course, our professional education teachers like Dr. La Madrid and Ma'am Rivera, the former Lorma registrar, who actually always before emphasized the importance of being humane to our students. So these educators in all their simple and huge ways have unconsciously and consciously influenced us. So wherever we are right now, it's because of them.
Yes, very nice of you to
Mhm.
remember them. But of course, as I have said, that I believe that all of your teachers have really touched a very special spot in your life. Wherein I think that they are really proud of you now. Yes, that's it. So with all the struggles that we have now, if you will be given the chance to talk or to give a message to all our listeners, Lormanians, future Lormanians, no, what is that message that you would like, message or advice even, or a lesson, no, that you would like to share to them as a source of inspiration?
Yes, sir. The present setup is really more challenging, just like what I told you a while back, sir. It's really more challenging than the usual, especially with the educational setup that we have right now. But one thing is for sure, we have to prioritize ourselves more than anything else. To be honest, it's not easy to survive in these trying times, in this time of pandemic. So pressures are everywhere, like the pressure to be good, to be productive, to be excellent. Well, of course, it's not bad to aspire to be great in what we do, but we have to also remember to save ourselves first, to save our sanity first, especially in this time of pandemic. So if we want to give love to others, then it is important to know to give love to ourselves first. One of my recent reads, Charles Bukowski, and I love the quote. It says there, if you have the ability to love, love yourself first. And it's actually a great reminder to all of us. Like, just like what I told you a while back, sir, in our case as teachers, online classes this time are more daunting than the face to face classes that we had before. But then, more than the mental, emotional, social, physical, among other demands of the teaching field, we have to also remember that it is a privilege and still fulfilling to be a part of a profession which entails developing the next generations. In our case, as educators, it is our responsibility in the midst of everything that is happening now to inspire people to move and change the world one step at a time. And then lastly, generally speaking, and I always emphasize this also in my classes, more than being good with concepts and theories in our fields, let us not forget to have a heart for people. Let us try to not develop intellectual monsters or not be intellectual monsters ourselves, but instead let us be people who can use whatever that is in us so we could contribute for a more peaceful and productive society. So let us maximize our potential so we can use them not just for ourselves, but hopefully more on serving others. And also, sir, before I forget, I also want to share what Marcus Aurelius said, and he's one of my favorite philosophers, really. He said that our basic duty on earth is to be a good human being. It is a basic duty, and yet sometimes we are experts at coming up with endless excuses to avoid it. So it is unavoidable that there are people who will always be critical of us, but we must all realize that whether we do good or bad, people will always have something to say about us. So why not just do our basic job, which is still be good to everyone despite everything, especially now that we are in these trying times. It is important to extend goodness to people. And I guess that's it, Sir Pao.
Yes, I really love what you said, ma'am, because of what really is happening now. We need more kindness in the world. That's very, very good. And I also would like to take note or emphasize on that message about something like about our mental health. Yes, because not only physically that we are being targeted by the virus, but the effect of the pandemic is digging deeper than the physical aspect of our body. So it's very important also to take good care of our mental health, as you said,
Yes.
and give time for yourself as well to heal, to move on, and
Yes.
yes, and to ponder things, no, to give more importance on what is really important and from those which are not. So, yun ma'am, uh, if I would like to continue with this, I would like to ask you, ma'am, if you will also be given the chance to talk to your younger self. Yes. If you will be given the chance to, yeah, face to face with your younger self, what would you like to tell her?
Yes. I That's a very Miss Universe type of question. Yes. Maybe I'll just tell my younger self, you are doing great. You need not to be pressured by anything or anyone else. Because way before when I was young, I was really conscious of what people will think of me. Well, I guess it's very human of us to
Yes, yes, I
always
agree.
think of
Yes.
what others will say about us,
Mm-mm,
how they
mm-mm.
will perceive us, like how they will perceive our intelligence, among other things. But now that I am getting more matured, I realize that recognitions, achievements, those are all secondary. What matters now is what you are doing for others, like when you are doing your purpose in this world. And I guess that's the most important thing. There's also this, I am into Stoic philosophy this past year, Sir Pao. And then I just want to share this. There's this saying, we cannot control what happens around us. Like, for example, the opinions of people about us. But at the end of the day, what we can control is how we deal with these opinions or what these happenings. So I guess that's it, sir.
Yes, correct. I have my own version of that one. I think I read it somewhere also that we cannot really um, have any control over the perception of other people. What we can control is how do we react to
Mm-mm.
those comments or bashing, let's just say bashing
Yes.
about us. And
Yes.
it's very nice, most especially now that our younger generations, they are really pressured. Diba?
Mm-mm.
They are really, they would like to finish everything in a fast-paced manner, and
Mm-mm.
sometimes impatience is deadly. And it can be detrimental on our part, and it is very good, ma'am, that you mentioned it. That Do not be pressured. You have
Mm-mm.
that own time, own pacing,
Mm-mm.
own timing. Timing
Yes.
is everything. Hashtag timing is everything.
Mm.
That's very nice, ma'am. It's very nice that you mentioned it.
Mm-mm.
Another one, I would like you to give also particular message for our students who are really having a hard time coping with the situation. More of those who are experiencing
Mm-mm.
depression or anxiety.
Mm-mm.
What do you think that you can give them as words of encouragement?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I know their feeling because I am also a student during weekends, so I know how hard it is to be a student in this time of pandemic. But I guess the most important thing that I'd like to tell them is to not invalidate their feelings first. Like if they are
Mhm.
sad, then be sad. But of course, you don't have to stay sad for a long time. You have to always put yourself out there after, feeling that feeling of being sad. If you're happy, then be happy. But at the end of the day, do not invalidate your feeling. And the most important thing that I can say is I can advise to fellow students like me is to just like what I told you, Sir Pao, a while back, to have time for your passions.
Yes,
Yes, find meaning in
in
that
what you're
passion, and
doing.
then at the same time, if you cannot really handle it already, it's good to have a strong support system, and at the same time to seek professional help if
Professional
you
help,
cannot
yes,
really
that's
yes if
correct.
you
Yes.
cannot really handle it already.
Don't self-diagnose.
Mm-mm. Yes,
Yes.
that's very important, sir. Don't
Yes.
self-diagnose. Mm-mm.
And as they say, it's okay not to be okay sometimes. You
Mm-mm.
just need to feel the feeling. Yes, that's correct, ma'am. I agree with you.
Mm-mm.
So,
Yes.
yeah, before we proceed, ma'am, I would like to remind our viewers that we are live in YouTube, and you can comment your thoughts and let us know what are your thoughts, or if you have questions for Ma'am Jennielou, if you have clarifications for her, feel free to comment it in our YouTube live, and then we'll try to address them in this interview in our show this afternoon. And we
Mm-mm.
are waiting. Ayan. So
Yes.
I think they are still looking for the right question to ask you, ma'am.
Or maybe they are still having their online classes, or
Maybe some of them
right?
are
Uh-uh.
currently having their online classes, but
Mm-mm.
however, thank you very much to those who are viewing us in our Facebook Live. I think we are also being shared in our Facebook page, the Lorma Schools.
Mm-mm.
There you have it. Yeah, Ma'am Jenny, I have siguro, perhaps this will be my second to the last or last questions na. I've asked you for something about advice for our students. As a fellow educator or in the academy, what can you advise to our fellow educators who are also having a difficult time or struggling because of the effects of this endeavor, pandemic, COVID-19?
Mm-mm.
Because I
I
believe
guess.
there's a lot of
Mm-mm.
educators out there who are struggling.
Yes, sir. I guess it's really hard for us educators to really, cope with the demands at first, but then eventually we have to remind ourselves of our purpose, why we are in the field. So we have to remind ourselves what is our purpose? Why are we in the teaching field? What is the meaning of what am I doing? Okay. We have to always remind that, even if it's really hard. Sometimes before, even last month, I was in that midst of dilemma of quitting also the teaching field because of the amount or the load of works that we are facing as teachers. But then there came this time wherein I also read something in a stoic book that I am reading by Ryan Holiday, and it says there that it's actually helpful if we have to build this support system so that we can cope with everything that we are experiencing now, be it hardships or among others, and then at the same time to always find the meaning in what we do. Even if sometimes nothing is making sense in what we are doing, like in paperworks, but we just have to remind ourselves, why are we teaching? Why are we still in the teaching field? And I guess it helps sometimes, in my case, as a teacher.
Yes, sometimes when we are lost, I agree with that, ma'am. Sometimes when we are a little bit confused or a little bit lost, it's good that we go back from where we started, reevaluate ourselves. Why are we doing these things in the first place? Yes, I love that. I love that message of yours, ma'am. I think we have one comment in our Facebook, YouTube Live, ma'am. What are your challenges as a teacher when the time from face to face to online class and how you conquered it? They are asking the specific challenges of shifting. Perhaps this is how I understand the question. What are those challenges that you encountered as a teacher, ma'am, when we shifted from the traditional or face-to-face mode or classes into online classes? And how did you conquer it?
Challenge on our of what we are or where we are conducting our class, because we don't really have any learning management system among others. We don't really have prepared modules for the online class. So that was the greatest challenge. How can we be flexible and resourceful in putting up materials in a short amount of time? So we were really challenged in terms of coming up with materials, because
Mhm.
to be honest, making modules or work text isn't really as easy as it may seem,
Yes, I agree.
because you have to really think. You are going to write a module which is, you know, not just copy pasted from anywhere. So it's really challenging mentally, physically, socially, and financially. That's the greatest challenge. And I guess I want to appreciate the efforts of our administration during that time, because they were able to extend help to us in terms of providing materials for us to use, and at the same time, even our other stakeholders, they were really very understanding and supportive to all of us, especially in our case as a public institution. So it helped, really.
Yeah, so it's good that you mentioned, ma'am, because as teachers also, or as an institution, in order for us to really conquer this challenge, that we need to work as a whole, as a team. That it's good that you mentioned the help of the administration, the other stakeholders, because we really need to do this as one. No? If we need to be more cohesive or more like to be one, this is the best time to do it. It's very good. Thank you for mentioning that, Ma'am Jennielou. And I think to end, I would like to ask you na lang, ma'am, if few words. Now, before that, I'd like to ask you, ma'am, now with everything that you've experienced, with all the lessons, life lessons that you've learned, what is your life's hashtag? If you will be given the
Oh,
chance to make your life's hashtag now, what is your hashtag?
I guess hashtag faith.
Hashtag
Faith,
faith.
yes,
Yes.
Faith,
PH.
yes.
Very
Especially during
nice.
this trying time, sir. this isn't really to proselytize or something, but my faith in God really helped me a lot to surpass a lot of things or hardships at this time of pandemic. So I guess that's it.
Yes, I
Faith.
think also I
Mm-mm.
believe it. I love your hashtag faith, because when everything falls, I believe
Mm-mm.
that your faith will be the one to lift you up and
Mm-mm.
bring back to your feet and fight again. Yes,
Yes, yes.
and with that, Ma'am Jenny, I would like you to give us your simple closing message, perhaps, to all our viewers, to all teachers, students, admin, people around there who are listening to us. What can you tell to them, Ma'am Jenny?
Yes, sir. To all the listeners out there, especially to the Lorma community, I want to tell you that we just have to fight the good fight, okay? And just like what I told you a while back, I guess with everything that is happening around us, the most important thing for us to do is to be good to others, to be a good human being. And even if we are, also experiencing bad things on our own, at the end of the day, it pays to be good to everyone, to spread kindness, especially at this time of pandemic.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Ma'am Jennielou, sorry, but we need to address this one. There is last question. There is someone from Ma'am Mel Fontanilla. Ma'am Jen, how do you deal with difficult colleagues and students? Also, how do you manage your time as full-time educator and with responsibility as a student? Perhaps the second question we answered, we managed to answer
Mm,
that one, but we can go over that one. But the first question is how to deal with difficult colleagues and students.
yes. That's a very interesting question, Sir Pao. Thank you so much, Ma'am Mel, for that. No. Really, at first, we are just human beings. At first, of course, we might be irritated or annoyed with this type of people, difficult colleagues or
Colleagues and
students. But
students.
then I am actually reminded, just like what I told you a while back, that stoic principle that we cannot really control what happens around us, but what we can control is our reactions toward
Exactly.
those happening. So in this case, if they are being unkind to you, then it's really up to you. You have the decision. You have two decisions there actually, or two options actually. First is if you want to fight back, or the second one is if you just want to just go away, do not mind it, and just do your job. So that's it. I guess it helps really in my case as a teacher to never mind that, because at the end of the day what matters most is how you are doing your best in your job. If you are in the teaching field, your main purpose there is actually to teach. So no matter what they do, because whether we like it or not, whether we do good or bad, people will always have something to say about
Yes.
us. So I guess that's it, Ma'am Mel. I hope
And
I answered your question as
there
practical
you have
as I
it.
can. Yes.
Yes, and just a very quick answer, ma'am. Yung the second question: how do you manage your time as full-time educator and as well as with responsibility as a student, since you are a PhD student?
Mm-mm. To be honest, I have like a planner.
Mhm.
Yes, that's the most practical thing that I want to share to everyone. I have a planner wherein I actually schedule what to do in a day so that I will not cram as much as possible, especially with grad school, because of course grad school, we all know how hard grad
Yes.
school is. So I do have my planner, and at the same time I always remind myself of my essentials, like what are my priorities in life. So basically, especially when the pandemic started, I actually told myself, I am convinced, and still I'm convincing myself that I have to set my priorities right. So I have my family, myself, my studies, and of course my work. So everything that goes beyond that, those are just secondary priorities, but I have to always put my priorities first. And actually it helps. And then also it helps to say no. Yes,
Yes, I
especially in
agree.
our
I
work as
agree.
teachers,
Yes.
right? So especially if they can see that you can already handle things, and then they will be requesting a lot from you. But it's okay also to say no, especially if you have prior commitments already, and you cannot already handle what they are requesting from you. So it's okay to say no as long as you are clear in your statement regarding why are you saying no to them.
Yes. Yes. Yes,
Yes.
I'd like to point out two thoughts on your answer with that, Ma'am Jennielou. It's
Mm-mm.
know your priorities, and the
Mm-mm.
second one is it's okay to say no sometimes. Yes, and yeah, thank you for Ma'am Mel. Ma'am Mel also commented again. Thank you and glad to be here at first LORMA Network event. We are also glad that we have you here, Ma'am Mel. Thank you very much for the support. And yes, Ma'am Jennielou, in as much that we would like to continue this discourse and talk more of your personal and professional experiences. However, we need to move on and uh, hope to see you again. And I think you can always visit the campus if you are free. No, I know that you are
Mm-mm.
in vegan. If you can come home
Mm-mm.
physically here at Lorma Colleges, most especially
Yes, sir.
here,
Yes, I'd
the
love
home of.
to go back to Lorma. Yes, sir.
Yes, you are
Someday,
always
someday.
welcome. Our
Mm-mm.
alumni are always welcome with us. And once again, Ma'am Jennielou, thank you very much for those inspiring stories, messages, and even most especially lessons, lifelong lessons that you've experienced and shared to our listeners. I hope that our listeners, most especially our students and fellow people in the academy, really learned even a thing or two or everything about your story this afternoon. And once again, we are proud of you, Ma'am Jennielou, on all your achievements, and we always wish you the best. Thank you, Ma'am Jennielou. And with that, yes, ma'am. And with that, thank you very much for being with us the whole duration of our first episode of Lormanian Network. Again, if you would like to be updated and be um, immersed with activities of Lorma Colleges, you can visit our Facebook page, The Lorma Schools. That's The Lorma Schools. And you can hit the like and follow button. We also have our YouTube account, which we are live now, the LORMA Channel. Hit the notification bell so that you will be updated in all the videos that we will be uploading. And you will be updated on when will be our next episode for Lormanian Network. We also have different Facebook pages for our different departments. You can also look there at our Facebook page of the Lorma Schools. And with that, again, once again, thank you very much. And we hope that all of you are safe, all of you are healthy, and thank you very much for your support. With that, I am Sir Paulo. I am your host for the Lormanian Network and Mabuhay. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon.